Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So, I don't want to get into conspiracy, but I got to thinking about something today. I came home, punched in Fed into Google, and hit the news feed, and it was all these Herman Cain articles about how he is backing out of this nomination for this Federal Reserve position. Now, I put out a video a few days ago questioning why in the world Donald Trump would ever nominate Herman Cain in the first place. He is a total gold standard believer. He believes in raising interest rates. Now, if you listen to Donald Trump, he says everything opposite of what Herman Cain would believe. He thinks the Federal Reserve should lower interest rates. He believes the Federal Reserve should start loading up on their balance sheets with more treasuries and start printing money again. He said the Federal Reserve is loco, and if he could fire Jerome Powell, he would. Everything that he has been saying out there in the news is opposite of what Herman Cain believes. So it didn't make any sense to me why in the world he would nominate Herman Cain. But there was two guys. It was Herman Cain and this guy, Stephen Moore. Now, Stephen Moore makes a little bit more sense. He is not as, say, gold standard, locked, set-minded as Herman Cain is, but he does believe in like strong dollar theory. So like raising interest rates and stuff like that is more along the lines of what Stephen Moore would believe than, say, Donald Trump's what he is stating out there in the news for all of us to hear. So these two guys really didn't make any sense. But Herman Cain really didn't make any sense. Because already the Senate was like, we're not going to vote that guy in. He's got these sexual harassment suspicions in the past, and it's just too questionable about whether or not he should, have this position at the Federal Reserve. So we're not going to vote him in. And pretty much everybody already knew that. But like 70 to 80% of the news out there about this whole Federal Reserve position went to Herman Cain. Now, I thought about it a little bit. I was like, well, Herman Cain does have a little bit of legitimacy. He worked at the Federal Reserve in the past. He's like, this big, climbed up the high rankings of Godfather's Pizza. He's big CEO over that. So, it does kind of make sense that Herman Cain would have this position, and if there was ever a return back to a gold standard, then you might want to have some people in there who actually believed in the gold standard and thought about it a little bit, if there was any kind of return going towards that position. But Herman Cain was no way going to make it in. Now, Stephen Moore, more likely the person who would make it in, he did have some issues in the past. He made these really bad jokes towards women, these sexist jokes. Now, what would you rather have when it came to the lesser of two evils? Somebody who made some really bad jokes or somebody who was suspicious of sexually harassing somebody? Right? So that's kind of what I see what happened here, because Herman Cain, he gets like 78% of the news broadcast out there. Stephen Moore, nobody even talks about. Herman Cain, no way is he like even gonna remotely even get into this position. And today he comes out today and says, you know what, guys? I'm sorry, but $183,000 is just not enough money for me to do this position. So I'm going to have to respectfully decline to take this position at the Federal Reserve due to the fact that it's too financially burdensome for me. And that's what he said today. So now Stephen Moore has a whole lot of weight relieved off of him, doesn't have to compete with Herman Cain. Herman Cain was definitely the more evil, if they're, I don't believe Herman Cain is evil at all. He's probably a just fine guy, but when it comes to that, that analogy of lesser of two evils, definitely Stephen Moore would be that person. And that's kind of what I see happening here, is that Stephen Moore just kind of like greased the wheels for him. It just made this whole sliding him into position at the Federal Reserve a whole lot easier. Instead of having the controversy of all these news agencies putting out all this time and effort and talking about Herman Cain, who never was going to make it in the first place. I don't know. Uneducated economist, you let me know.